Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Television, and today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on what you are ready to leave behind. So I encourage you to stick around, and of course, if you like this video, I ask that you like, subscribe, press the bell icon, that way you're notified every single time a video pops up. I want to let you know that I do offer personal readings as well as coaching programs to support you in your life, in your work, and on your spiritual path. I have an incredible program out right now. It's called Spirit Woman. It's a year-long coaching community to nurture your true nature and your highest potential. You can check out those details below or at erritygreen.com. I do believe that is all I wanted to share with you today. So from here, I will place a picture up of your 3-card pile choices today, and then we will get started. All right, card pile 1, what are you ready to leave behind? So card pile 1, you are ready to leave behind, I feel like, doing it all alone, doing it solo, facing life on your own, you against the world. You're ready to really call in your tribe, your peeps, your soul tribe, your community, your village, your support, your friends or family, but maybe even friends you then consider family, because I feel like if you have been going solo, you might not have a family that really gets you, might be the black sheep, might be the alternative, holistic, spiritual-esque person who, of course, if you're here on the channel, you're aligned with that in some way, but oftentimes those peeps tend to be sort of disconnected from their family or even estranged and or just have strained relationships with their family, or they just don't align and have the same vibration. That's cool, but it seems like you might have been doing it solo for a while or doing the whole independent thing, and it's saying there's an opportunity now to connect with community, to connect with whoever you consider your quote-unquote tribe, to connect with the people that really like you, love you, would understand you and support you, to get out there, to connect, to reconnect, to be a part of civilization, to be a part of society. And I know we're in an era right now when this is being filmed after the sea crisis and such, that things are a little bit different or not, we don't really have solid ground just yet on how things are going to look. All of that to say, all the more reason to connect to your local community and who you might connect with most. So creating those meaningful relationships, creating those meaningful connections, but getting out there, exploring, connecting with the world, and letting sort of life hold you, letting the world hold you, letting yourself be supported, letting yourself have relationships. The thing is, a lot of people who feel unsupported, they haven't done the work to maintain a lot of relationships or sustain a lot of relationships, and or they fear the work or intimacy associated with relationships. They feel like they don't have the resources to sustain or maintain those relationships, and yet at the end of the day then they find themselves alone without support. And so if we're not willing to give, then we also don't receive, and so it ends up being this double bind such that we're stuck, right? We want something and yet we're not willing to put in the work, and then we end up alone and without support. And so like, what's the point of that, right? It would obviously, the quote-unquote ideal would be that we're willing to give and enter these relationships and support and sustain these relationships, and then everybody can share each other's resources. Everybody can support each other, and that once we give way to giving and allow ourselves to give and allow that space of generosity to come forward, because it is something that has to be cultivated, and there might be a lot of conditioning and fear in the way, and those would be the things you have to work on. But once we give way to that generosity of love itself that just gives and gives generously, then we're in a position to also experience that reciprocation, to experience exchange, to be supported ourselves. So you're stepping out of an era of doing it all yourself, juggling all the balls, trying to do all the things, living solo. Maybe you identify as an INDEP, independent woman, whatever that paradigm is, where it's all about taking care of myself and I can do this on my own, to entering a paradigm and frontier chapter of connection, of chemistry with others, of relationships, of intimacy, of community. And so, yeah, so let me try to see here. I see what's coming through with one of these cards, but I want to sit with another card for just a few seconds here. Yeah, it's like learning to befriend the thing that scares you. So at some level, you're scared of intimacy, you're scared of relationships, you're scared of connection, but it's what you want the most. So some of you might have been yearning for this. You might want this. You might deeply want support. And yet again, right, you haven't given of yourself. You haven't been willing to step into these relationships in fear of what might happen. Like, will they take from me? You know, will I end up being the one who maintains this relationship? Whatever those fears are, they're based in past experiences. They don't have to currently be true. You now know better. You'll do better. You'll have boundaries. Someone can't take something from you that you're not willing to give. Like, unless they've literally robbed your house, they can't take from you what you're not willing to give. And so you enter into relationships and you decide what you give. And if you give too much, then that's your impetus, that's your catalyst to take a look at what you're giving and decide if you want to keep going. But no one can take from you what you're not willing to give. So starting to embrace those parts of you that you've feared up until now, embrace those new frontiers, new horizons, which I feel like for a lot of you, it's actually encompassing of more than just community and friendship, so that intimacy is part of it. But it's like embracing those fears and vulnerabilities so that you can sort of expand your life, expand your experience, and expand your support system, and ultimately expand your resources and your resource base. There's more that wants to come through for you. There's a greater, richer vision here that includes far more experiences, connection, chemistry, relationships. I just feel like kind of bustling, thriving energy and peopledom, you know, just like being in spaces where people are sharing meals and sharing conversation and sharing laughs and sharing connection and togetherness. They're sharing duties, you know, things like that. I kind of feel of even like the vibe of a what do they call it? Intentional community or conscious community. People are coming together and sharing the load, but also sharing resources and so on and so forth. So I kind of get that vibe too. But this, again, doesn't have to just do with intimacy and relationships, although I'm seeing like that's the focal point here for this reading. But it's really an expansion of yourself, your life, your aloneness, expanding into greater frontiers, developing, you know, cultivating a richer life full of more people, more experiences, more love, more togetherness, more connection. It's like all that stuff. There are things that you want, but you haven't allowed yourself to experience or receive because you were in fear of what might happen to you. You know, it's self-preservation. They're going to take from me. I'm not going to get anything out of this. Requires so much effort. But when we take the self out of it and kind of all those insecurities and doubts, and yes, some of those things are valid and were valid for a time, especially, and that self-preservation, you got to do what you got to do to preserve yourself. And yet, if you're yearning for more, those are things that are outdated. Those are expired programs and paradigms that aren't going to serve you anymore. And you have to make that choice to edge beyond that. And even in small ways, to step outside of your comfort zone and cultivate a new life experience that is richer, that is more bountiful. The bounty that you seek, it feels like at this point in your life, is more relationship, other people connected, sharing of resources, sharing of goods and services, just this beautiful, connected chemistry and community and economy of people that just come together and share and love and laugh and cry even, but that's what it feels like, and that's what you're stepping into. That's available, but it's going to require you to drop the defenses, drop the walls, the fears, the insecurities, and there might be a process for this for you. That's okay. You can edge beyond your comfort zone, your current self that tells you all these lies about the things that are going to happen. Again, people can only take what you're willing to give. So that's going to be you developing your legs through this, right? Learning to walk. And there might be some mishaps here and there. That's how relationships go. But ultimately, the reward is going to be worth the risk. It's going to be worth the effort, worth the energy, worth the time, worth the work for you. So, there was a thought that I had that I was trailing on. But anyway, so the final piece of this, yes, is living more intentionally into what you ultimately actually desire and trusting the unfolding thereafter, trusting yourself even, trusting what comes as a result, trusting that this is going to bring you right where you want to go, but it's being more intentional with yourself, with your life, even developing a little bit of a ferocity or fierceness or fearlessness about moving into the territories beyond your comfort zone that feel a little bit uncomfortable, that feel a little bit unsafe or invulnerable, or make you feel vulnerable, but that are ultimately eventually rewarding for you. It's really what you want. It's what you're yearning for. If you think that anything is missing at all, I would, you can bet your bottom dollar it's probably this, and it's going to require you to get a little bit fearless and or intentional about stepping outside of that comfort zone. And even if it's just edging at first, supporting yourself to not live the same old way, make the same old decisions, the same old choices that are ultimately based in fear, insecurity, and vulnerability, and so on and so forth, that are preventing you from opening up, letting your walls down, and letting other people in. So that's your reading, card pile 1. I thank you for watching. I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon if you'd like to receive notifications moving forward when a video pops up. I do offer personal readings as well as coaching programs. Spirit Woman is enrolling now. You can catch those details below or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2. What wants to be left behind? Okay, so let me see here. So I feel like you're stepping into a new chapter. And so maybe it's just in general, the leaving behind of an old way, an old story, an old ego identity, an old narrative, an old way of living, being and doing, that kind of thing. It's not showing me yet what that is. We might not even get it. And maybe it's because it's trying to edge you forward and edge you along and say it's no longer relevant. That's old news. It's expired. Throw it out. Okay. When food is expired in the fridge, we throw it out. When things expire in our lives, we look at it, we wonder, we, tear it apart, we analyze it, we assess it, we evaluate it, we hold on to it, and then it just sours and sours and sours. And then it becomes toxic for us over time, right? Nothing's ever truly wrong, but things do expire and become a limit for us as we grow, as we expand. And if you are on the path of growth and change and evolution, and I imagine you are, if you're on this channel, you're going to find things expire for you. They might even expire for you at a more accelerated pace and a more accelerated fashion, because you do grow and you're actively growing and living intentionally and consciously. So you have to be cultivating that sort of receptivity within you to like let things go, to let things expire, to let things fall away, as opposed to hold on tight and try. It's like, if this is what you've committed to, this growth, this spiritual evolution, whatever it is, that this is what you've committed to, and I feel like you have if you're card pile 2, then part of that is getting comfortable with letting things go, with letting things expire. And so I feel like we were saying, what are you ready to leave behind? All the old news, the old identity, the old things that have expired. I think you know what those things are, and we'll see if it touches on that. But it's almost like stop even thinking from that paradigm. Stop thinking from that. And it's funny because, this is the reading that I presented to you. But it's like not even bothering with that question of what needs to go, what needs to be left behind, because it's still operating from old self, old view, old perspective, old limited ego, whatever. It's like when you're in it, you're going to be saying what needs to be left behind, what needs to be left behind. But when you're in a new paradigm, new vision, new experience, new frontier, that's not even relevant anymore. It's not a relevant question. You're already in the new energy, doing the new thing, operating from a new source, a new space of being. So I'm not getting anything for you as to what to leave behind. I'm just getting new frontier, new chapter, author the next chapter, like be done with it. Don't even ask those questions. Instead, ask about your new vision. What would light you up? What makes you thrive? What supports you to feel healthy, to feel light, to feel passionate, to feel fulfilled, to feel excited? What would you like to see your life look like? What would you like to invite in? What would you like to cultivate? What would you like to support? What would you like to bring to fruition? How do you want to live? How do you want to be? How do you want to share? What do you want to experience? So asking yourself more of those questions as opposed to what to leave behind, because that's keeping you focused on the past, the old identities, and it's actually keeping you sort of in this pattern, for you, card pile 2, it's keeping you in this pattern of old paradigm, old program, old identity, old, the hamster wheel. You're just going on the hamster wheel, asking yourself new questions. What do I need to let go? Staying here, staying here. Nothing's actually changing for you, card pile 2, or not enough, or whatever. Like, if you're here, you're obviously you're edging into new, or a new frontier, a new experience, expansion. And when we say what wants to be left behind, it's almost like we're implying that we're aware of growth or evolution, that something needs to change or things need to be let go of. And it's saying, but if you've truly embodied the new and you're really in the energy of the new, you're not asking that question. You're saying, what's next? You're saying, what do I want to create? What do I want to experience? What do I want to invest in? What kind of life do I want to create for myself, or vision I want to create myself? It wants to give you a more positive focus, more positive direction, a more positive spin. You're not focusing on letting things go. You're not focusing on like butchering things away. You're not focusing on severing ties. You're not focusing on like all the bad, quote unquote, right, things that have to go, or the things that have soured, or the expired foods in the fridge. You're saying, awesome, what kind of badass foods can I put in my fridge? I know I love this, I know I love that, I love cooking this, I love cooking that, and it's like, this is what I want to see myself cooking. I want to see myself making this kind of food, right? Using that refrigerator analogy. And so it's like moving into that space, that vision, that perspective, as opposed to old identity, ego, that limited, part of ourselves that doesn't, it's like, again, we can't blame ourselves. There's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with that part of ourselves that asked that question. Clearly, I wrote this question for you guys. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. It's that we can get so focused on what we need to go and what we need to change, what we need to fix, what we need to solve, what we need to let go of, like whatever, that we're actually in old identity still. We're still in the old energy of what do I need to do so that I can be there? Well, it's saying don't even ask that question then. Enter there. Enter the now. Enter the new. That's what you're going to focus on. The new vision, the new era, the new life, the new experiences, what you're cultivating now, the energy you want to embody now, the experiences you want to embody now. You're focused on that. That's your North Star. Your North Star isn't, oh, what do I need to let go of? Your North Star for you, card pile 2, is what's my new vision? What is it that I truly want? What is it that I truly want to experience? What is it that I truly want to receive, create, share? And then as you walk the path of your North Star, anything else will ultimately eventually fall away. Do not give it any more time. Do not give it any more attention. For some reason, card pile 2, maybe you've given it a lot of time, or you've really sort of overanalyzed it, or whatever, kind of beat this horse to death, so to speak, of all the things you need to do, to change, to fix. Maybe you went through a difficult time and like you just want it to be over and want it to be done. So you're like, what do I need to let go of so that will change, right? Or I've worked really hard for something and it hasn't been realized yet. So what do I need to do to manifest that? Whatever version of that you're experiencing, card pile 2, you're being asked to no longer focus on what needs to be let go of, or what's expired, or what's toxic, or what's quote unquote bad, or what's still, old energy clearing out. None of that. Because for you, it's kept you in the hamster wheel, and it's actually kept you in the old story and the old ego and the old narrative and the old program. You want to step out of that energy into the new energy. The new energy isn't asking questions about the past because the past has expired. It's no longer relevant. It's no longer meaningful. New self, new chapter is asking about new energy, what you want to embody and experience now. So you're stepping into that energy. You're asking yourself who you want to be, what you want to experience. What is your ultimate truth? This says home. May your body be where a harmonious balance of love, strength, light, and pleasure lives. So that's one version, but it's kind of giving you the idea of what's your nucleus? What's the nucleus of your life? Who do you want that to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to embody, right? The nucleus of your life, right? With you being the nucleus of this atom. Is that even how it works? It's been too long since I've had chemistry, guys. But you're the nucleus, you're the hub of the wheel of your whole life, getting clear on what it is that's true for you, that makes you feel enriched and satisfied and light, and where pleasure is, right? Where it says pleasure and play and strength, where that is, and living from there, then starting to build sort of the spokes of this wheel from that space, and anything that needs to go will go on the way there. You can trust life to clear that shit out. It's going to be cleared out on the way. It'll be, once you're in new energy, the old energy can fall away easily. It just cascades away. If you're in old energy, it's still stuck there. It's going to be hanging on for dear life, right? Because it's still you. It's still that. It's the energy that keeps it there. It's an identity that's identifying with that or attached to that. If there's a part of you that, there might be certain habits, patterns, people, places, whatever, that are in your life that you feel needs to go. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here asking about this. And so it's like the old identity is attached to those things. And so asking what needs to go, again, is an old identity energy. The new self, new version, new energy wouldn't even ask about those things because that's already been done, right? It's already been dealt with. And when you embody this new energy, sort of you've greased the wheel and sort of lubricated the gears so that all that other stuff can easily fall away. It just cascades away ever so gently, because there's no identity holding on to it anymore. There's no, sort of ego structures or context, everything kind of built around it and like this rigid identity. It's like if you're in new energy, all that stuff, there's a lot of space and air and, all that can just be cleared out so easily because nothing's being held on to so tightly, if that makes sense. You're not in the energy anymore. There's nothing to keep all that onto you, like a magnet, let's say. If you're a magnet, things magnetize to you and you're saying, how do I get rid of this thing, right? We'll say it's two different charges, you're charge 1, it's charge 2, or positive and negative, it's together, right? And you're saying, what can I do to get rid of this thing? How can I leave this thing behind that's stuck to me? Well, it's going to be pretty darn difficult, right? Because you're a magnet and it's on you and there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do. And you can kind of maybe wedge some space, strain and force some space. And even if you do that, it's going to come right back, right? And you might even pull just enough and then it collapses right back, right? And you're the magnet and it comes right back to you. So instead, you're going to embody the new energy, right? Maybe you don't, and such that you don't have that same polarity anymore, and this other part can just fall away. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's funny because I was doing the magnet kind of positive and negative, and then we have this card. I want to see what else wants to come through for this one though, just in case there's additional message or energy that wants to come through here. Yeah, it's like trying to make a new vision fit with an old self, with old questions, with old inquiries. The new vision, the new self, the new energy isn't compatible with the old energy. So, you know, remaining in that energy, asking questions from that energy, asking questions from that mindset, so on and so forth, is just keeping you in the old. It's not inviting the new. And then you're trying to force this kind of marriage or union to happen of the self, of new self and old self, new vision and old vision. Clear all of that away, let all that crumble, so this new vision can just land. And all that other stuff will crumble and fall away. Yeah, so focusing again, instead of focusing on what needs to go, what's not here, what's missing, you know, again, you're kind of longing in that space. What does this say? Presence of absence. Okay, you're focusing on what isn't there, what isn't complete, what's missing, what you need to do, how can you fix it, how can you make it happen, how can you manifest it. All of that is from the energy of the old. It's assuming it's not there. It's assuming that place of it's missing, it's not here. You know, I have to do this, I have to let this go. That's why you came to this reading. What do I need to let go so that I can, right? Usually it's what do I need to leave behind? And then it's ... so that I can have, so that I can experience, so that I can receive. There's actually an outcome usually attached to that question. And so you're actually seeking that outcome, but you came here to ask what you need to let go of. And it's saying you focus in on all that and asking these questions. Hey, Errity wrote the question. All you did was show up. So, but either way, you know, this message for all of us, I guess, it's saying asking a question like that. But I mean, it's for card pile 2, so it might be relevant for other people. Relevant questions for a relevant time. Anything can become a limitation, right, over time. It might be useful somewhere, and then it becomes a limitation. It's become a limitation for you. Asking yourself all the things you need to let go of, the things you need to do, and all of this stuff is just keeping you stuck. So instead, you're not going to focus on what's gone or what's missing, what you need to let go of, what you need to do, how do you fix this. Again, that's all from the energy of I don't have it, it's not here, so on and so forth. You're magnetizing, you're keeping everything attached to you, that same old identity, that same old way. So instead, you just start new. You start anew. It says courage, right? Because it could require courage in some cases to start fresh, to start new. But what I'm seeing here is new growth, revival, regeneration. I'm getting kind of renewal, rebirth. So it's just living in the energy of the new vision. What is that new vision? What do you want to experience, receive, share, create, and begin to live that in your life every day in all of your moments. If you don't in one moment, start again the next moment. If you don't one day, start again the next day. Just continue to cultivate that fertile ground, that garden for new life, for new potentials, new energy. Whatever it is you do want, whatever it is you do want to experience, whatever you do want to share. Over time, you're going to continually embody and expand into that energy. That will become your embodiment. That will become your new energy. That will become who you are. And then everything else will fall away. It no longer has an identity to hold on to, or an ego structure to hold on to, or something that's sort of, again, magnetizing those old ways or old things or whatever it is you came here to ask about to yourself. It won't have that charge, that polarity anymore. You're in new energy. It'll naturally fall away. Don't even ask yourself that question anymore. It's no longer your focus. Your focus is on new vision. So that's what you need to leave behind, is asking what you need to leave behind. That's your reading, card pile 2. Do share your story below if you so desire. If you like this reading, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you can receive a notification every single time a video pops up. I do want to let you know I offer personal readings as well as coaching programs. Spirit Woman is enrolling now. You can find those details below or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 2. Card pile 3, what do you need to leave behind? Let's see here. Give me a moment here. Okay, so card pile 3, I want to first ask that you check out card pile 2 if it resonated at all. If your attention was sort of drawn between both, I encourage you to go there because I think it could be relevant for some of you. And maybe even if it's not like your reading unique to you, I think it will be beneficial, impactful, and meaningful to you. So card pile 3, if you find yourself here and you were even a little bit nudging toward 2, and or if you feel like, and we'll get a better feel through the reading if it feels most necessary, and I'll make sure I share that. But I do feel like card pile 2 can be supportive to this group because of what you've been through or are moving through. So I want to share that first and foremost. The next thing is I feel like you've been through an era of kind of difficulty, challenge, strife, struggle. Maybe life disappointed you. Maybe you experienced some loss or seeming failures. Things weren't going your way. Things weren't kind of going the way that you expected. Maybe things just didn't work out. they didn't turn out. And I just feel like a sense of maybe defeat, disillusionment, discouragement. I don't feel like really deep, intense, heavy energies like abandonment or betrayal. Those things might have happened for you. It could have been something much bigger than what I'm sharing on here. So you have to apply this to your circumstances. But I do feel like just a sense of defeat, a sense of personal longing or loss, a sense of seeming failure, things just not working out. And maybe there's some confusion there, or difficulty in understanding, a lack of clarity around this experience, or how it's supporting you or not, or whatever. And I feel like first of all, two things. You were growing and maturing in some way through this, and I feel like you already know that, right? We all kind of know that whatever we go through, we grow through, and that's really a primary purpose of life as a human, and living in the duality that we live in. So that's, I think, a given. And I also feel like you're being asked to sort of grow out of this, grow into the next chapter. And maybe in some ways you're still holding back, not allowing yourself to move into the new phase, the next chapter, the new season. In some ways you're still holding on to some things, card pile 3. You're holding on to what once was, what could have been, what ifs, maybe if, had I done, had I said. And some of you are holding on to old visions, old dreams, old fantasies. Again, what ifs, what could have been. Perhaps a relationship was lost, or maybe it was a series of relationships, a series of losses, disappointments, and seeming failures. And you're just kind of, like I said, picking up the pieces and like, how did this all happen? Why didn't this work out? You kind of get in that space for a while of inquiry, which is good at first, that curiosity of, what went wrong? How did I contribute? What patterns are bringing all of this to fruition? What might need to change within me? What kind of new choices, decisions, and steps can I take? So those are all healthy questions. And then you get to a time where you're asked to sort of cease a lot of that and move forward and fully step into the new chapter, the new frontier. And that, again, I do feel like card pile 2 will be sort of like a nice preface for you, and then enter to 3. Not that you have to watch card pile 2 first, but I'm saying, like, in life, it would be kind of good to have this like introduction, what we talked about in card pile 2, which will then support this sort of shift that we're asking for card pile 3. But you went through this time of disillusionment, of feeling personal defeat in some way, and you're being asked to step out of that, right? There's a time that we kind of go through the inquiry, and then there's a time that we realize that we're still kind of holding on. For some of you, it's been years, and in some ways you're still holding on. And I think you know what those ways are, card pile 3, whether it was a relationship or a job or an idea or an identity. In some ways, you're aware of the ways that you're holding on, and I think it touches your tenderest places in your heart. In fact, if I share on it right now, I think some of you, if you allow yourself, I'm striking a chord such that you might even well up with tears or feel some softening or tenderness in your heart space, because you know what I'm talking about. And it's hitting that sweet spot. And know that that's your longing and your yearning for what you want at the deeper level. So maybe it won't come in the same form or package that you thought it would, or the same person or place or thing that you thought it would, or the same idea or vision that you thought it would. But it's telling you what you do deeply desire. Ultimately, it's bringing you right back to what you want the most. And I said in my book, Ready, Set, Worthy, which you can find on my website, one line in there of many lines is, your pain is a bleeding arrow pointing you to exactly what you want. So we tend to kind of get wrapped up in the pain and the agony or the anguish or despair or disillusionment or defeat of loss or disappointment or whatever. And it's like, that is relevant, and it's pointing you to exactly what you ultimately desire, what you truly deeply want. Is it connection, intimacy, union, communion? What are those deeper desires, those deeper, more authentic core values that this is speaking to? What is it that you ultimately long for? Is it to be seen, to be heard? Is it recognition? Is it expansion, expression of self, a fuller expression of self? Is it living boldly and loudly and fully? Is it expanding beyond your comfort zone to experience more of what life has to offer, traveling, nature, companionship, friendship, community, whatever those deeper layers, the deeper, truer parts of you? That's what this is pointing you to. There's a growth that wants to happen. It's trying to nudge you out of that. Life wants you to nudge out of that, because it's saying, like, you've been here for a time, and it's okay to be there, like, because it helps you gain this clarity, this understanding of yourself, this deeper discovery and awareness of what you truly deeply want. Beautiful. And while those desires you might carry with you, those values, the old ways that it was showing up, or that you were manifesting it with a certain person, place, thing, career, identity, those things have expired. Those might not have been true to you, ultimately true, and they might not have been compatible with that ultimate vision or desire or dream or those core values that you have for yourself. So it helped the self-inquiry, the self-discovery, this deeper connection, union, awareness of self. And now, you know, holding on to those old dreams or visions or people, places, things, that's just keeping you stuck. And it's time to sort of grow out. There's an opportunity of growth here. But I do feel like, again, for many of you, card pile 2 will help. But also, it's like, this is, like, the message here is like, you were meant to, this is what you were meant to uncover. Like, the things that you're uncovering, the things that I'm speaking to here, knowing yourself more deeply, your authentic desires more deeply, what it is you value most, all of this stuff, that's what was meant to be learned through this experience. That's what you were meant to gain. You were meant to gain a greater understanding, knowingness, and awareness of yourself. You were meant to gain a greater understanding of your core values, your non-negotiables, what you want most, what matters most to you, what's meaningful, what's not, what you can let go of and don't care about, and what you really will stand for. This is exactly what you were meant to do, or to uncover, to discover, to grow in awareness with. So this has been triumphant in that self-discovery work, that self-inquiry, that self-knowingness is precisely, and even self-expansion, this is what you were meant to grow into, or how you were meant to grow from this experience, this maturity, this greater sense of wholeness and awakenings of different parts of yourself, awareness of deeper layers of your subconscious and unconscious, maybe old familial patterning and dynamics, and the way you related with people or with lovers, and the way you showed up in relationships, and all of that stuff. That's what you were meant to uncover, and you've done that work. Now, there isn't this like impetus, like I want to be clear that when I say it's time to move on, there isn't this giant energy, this impetus of like move now. No, you know, life isn't like that. It's very gentle. This is an invitation, you know, it's a welcoming. It's saying, come on now, come on. It's okay. You can make it. You can do this. And it's not saying you must go now and I'm kicking you out of the nest. You know, it's not fierce like that, like mama bird, like, bye. You know, it's not like that. It's this gentle invitation of, all right, come on. All right, you got what you need. Now come on. You know, it's okay. Come on, yeah, join me. I'm right over here. I'm right here. Come on. You can do it. You know, like a mom would speak to her 2-year-old who's like, you know, taking their first steps in a new place. You know, there's this gentle invitation to kind of step into this. And I feel like this awareness and this recognition that I'm sharing now is going to help you kind of find your legs with this and be able to move forward. But there was a season of some challenge, difficulty, we could say darkness, or even a dark night of the soul. Doesn't feel that heavy, but I think it's because you've kind of made your way out a lot of that, found some clarity. There's still old pieces that are still sort of, you know, hanging out in the old chapter, the old identity, but those are, I think, being called back now, and you're well aware of where those pieces are, and they're rejoining you, and you're moving forward. Yeah, there was a time of, again, that deeper self-discovery, digging, what do I get? It's like, feels like lifting up the hood of the car, looking at the mechanics, how they work, you know, where you came from, what you did, the choices you made, the patterns and themes of your life, kind of looking at all these little pieces, just observing, looking neutrally, not like kind of going digging in the wound or kind of becoming blameful or resentful and bitter. Those feelings might have come up as you kind of looked at things. Excellent, let those things leave, but you were just observing. You know, you're being curious, you're taking a look. I see, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, got it. See, you know, kind of making those kinds of remarks. And if you weren't, that's like kind of the energy that you're being offered here. Just kind of look at it. But you went through a time of, like, again, maybe difficulty or turning away from life and turning inward, deep experience of introspection, of reflection, of self-discovery. And now you're coming out of that, but through this you also gain the sense of like ordinariness, of kind of coming back to yourself, coming back to the essentials, coming back to home, coming back to your foundation, what is most true for you. You started really coming down to like those essential truths about you again, like that self-discovery piece. What is it that you want most? What is important for you? What kind of relationship do you want? What kind of home would you like to have? You know, so on and so forth. The simplest of questions, and just exploring those deeper layers, and even where maybe some old ideas weren't really relevant for you anymore, and now you're stepping into something new, but it brought about a greater, again, knowingness of yourself, awareness of your own desires, and brought you closer to home with yourself, and maybe even home, like introspection, even some isolation. And you're coming to a place where that's expiring. Like, what are you leaving behind? You're leaving behind this era. You're leaving behind this chapter. Introspection, reflection. Now, here's what's interesting. The irony is, yes, you're leaving behind this chapter, but what I'm also feeling is you do take the introspection with you. You do take reflection with you. You do take self-discovery, self-inquiry with you, but it's an integrated part of your wholeness. It's like one piece of the pie. It's one piece of your whole life. Like, for a time, I feel like this was your whole life. kind of looking at these deeper layers, looking at the shadows, looking at these parts of yourself, these parts of your life. A lot of that stuff took up a lot of your time, and it was a lot of quote unquote shadow work, we could say, but it feels kind of light, gentle, and sweet and well-meaning. And it's like what you're moving into is not like just getting rid of it. It's like that chapter ends, but you do integrate that self-discovery, that reflection, that introspection. You carry that with you. So it's just one little piece of your life, but it's something that you walk with, so that as you go and as you move forward and as you evolve, you can continue to sort of look at what lights you up. Does this light you up? Is this landing? Is this matching your core values, right? You're now able to walk with a little bit more awareness of self, the deeper sort of underpinnings of you, also your conditioning, so that you're not, continuing to sort of align and create a life around that, but a life around the new instead. And this gentle self-awareness you now walk with. Yeah, so you have found or are finding the sort of harvest, the bounty in the storm, where we recognize that we kind of start finding the meaning and purpose in what happened. We start seeing the value and the gift in what happened. We start seeing the wisdom in what happened, what was lost. We also start seeing what was gained. We start to see the abundance that was gained, the awakening of the self, the expansion of the self, the knowingness of the self. We start to see the value and the beauty and the gift, and having uncovered now a part of ourselves, or revealed something that something that maybe once wasn't there, that now is. Maybe a greater contentment in self, greater wholeness of self. And again, those essential aspects of you that you've kind of grown into and now connected to in a much deeper level, in a much deeper way, such that you're able to walk forward more authentically from here, more connected from here, more self-knowing and self-honoring and self-loving from here. So what you leave behind is an era of introspection, reflection, self-discovery that happened as a result of maybe some disappointments and losses. And again, I still feel some of you have some pieces still in the old. That's all coming back now. You don't have to worry about like chasing those things down, or like knocking at doors like within yourself, like, oh, come, nothing has to be forceful. It's all coming back as you're like finding your legs and edging yourself into this new era, this new chapter. But now you know where you stand. Now you have a much deeper awareness and level of who you are, what you want, aspects of old self, aspects of new self, new energy you want to experience, new visions you want to embody, what you don't. And again, that's why I say card pile 2 might be helpful as well, to sort of pair with this reading. I wouldn't just do it in isolation. It would be paired with your reading. But you're able to step into a place of really knowing yourself deeply and fully, so you can live a truly authentic life. So that's your reading, card pile 3. I thank you so much for being here. If this landed, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share your story in the comments. You can press the bell icon. That way you receive a notification every single time a new video pops up. I love to share this space with you. I do offer personal readings as well as coaching programs. Spirit Woman is enrolling now. You can find those details below, or at erritygreen.com/spiritwoman. Thank you, card pile 3.